You think you're in control, but the truth is, a far darker impulse has been pulling your strings from the very start. Every man has a forbidden desire he can't admit. It's not weakness, it's the silent hand shaping his choices, his pride, even his love. Welcome, tonight, we're stepping beyond what you've been told about control, lust, and power. If you've ever felt the pull of something forbidden, stay, this is for you. Like this video, subscribe if you're ready to see the dark truth most men never face. Take a slow breath, let's go deeper. The air in the room feels thick, doesn't it? Like something unsaid, something unacknowledged, hangs heavy between us. You feel it, that subtle hum beneath the surface of every interaction, every relationship, every pursuit. It's the current of desire and the shadow of escape. Two primal forces that dictate far more of your life than you'd care to admit. Most men walk through life believing they are masters of their own destiny, architects of their choices. They pride themselves on their logic, their discipline, their ability to chart a clear course, but beneath that carefully constructed facade, a different narrative unfolds. A silent, ceaseless battle between what you crave and what you instinctively recoil from. Think about it. The pursuit of connection, of partnership, of intimacy, it's often framed as a quest for happiness, for fulfillment, and on the surface, it is. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find the unseen roots of something far more complex, something almost predatory. You enter a relationship not just to gain, but sometimes to possess, not just to love, but to control. Not just to connect, but to absorb, and conversely, the urge to escape, to pull back, to protect your independence. Is it always about self-preservation? Or is it sometimes a desperate flight from a truth you can't confront about yourself or about the other person? This isn't about villainizing these impulses, it's about recognizing them for what they truly are, the hidden mechanisms of your psyche. Most men don't realize that the very notion of freedom in a relationship, or even in solitude, can be a meticulously crafted illusion. You believe you're choosing to be single, to chase new experiences, to avoid entanglement. But what if that choice is merely a sophisticated escape mechanism, a reaction to a perceived threat, a past wound, or a deep-seated fear of vulnerability? Imagine a man, let's call him Alex. Alex prides himself on his bachelor lifestyle. He dates frequently, never commits, and always says he values his independence above all else. He genuinely believes he's living his best life, free from the chains of commitment. Yet, every time a woman gets too close, every time a conversation veers towards deeper feelings, he feels an almost physical urge to bolt. He tells himself it's about maintaining his freedom, but in truth, it's an automated response, a fear-driven program running in the background, subtly pushing him away from genuine intimacy. The desire for connection is there, but the desire to escape the perceived risks of that connection is far stronger, overriding his conscious intent. They never told you that your greatest strengths, your self-sufficiency, your ambition, your ability to detach, can become the hidden chains binding you. You cultivate these traits, believing they make you powerful, resilient, and they do, to a degree. But when these strengths are weaponized by your subconscious to avoid true human connection, they transform into subtle cages. You build walls not for protection from external threats, but from your own internal desire for something more profound, something that might expose your deepest vulnerabilities. This isn't about abandoning your strength. It's about understanding how your strength can be twisted into a barrier, preventing you from receiving the very thing you subconsciously crave. It's the silent paradox. The harder you fight for what you think is freedom, the more you might be trapping yourself within a self-imposed prison of isolation. The hidden tension is always there, a low hum beneath the surface. It's the conflict between the raw, sometimes unsettling desire for something, be it power, sex, validation, or even profound intimacy, and the equally powerful, often unconscious, drive to escape the consequences, the demands, or the perceived loss of. Self that comes with pursuing that desire. This isn't about good or evil. It's about the fundamental, often uncomfortable, truths of human psychology that most men are conditioned to ignore, to suppress, or to rationalize away. Because admitting these impulses, truly confronting them, would shatter the comfortable narrative you've built around yourself. It would force you to look into a mirror and see a reflection that isn't always heroic, isn't always rational, isn't always good. But that's only the surface. The real danger hides deeper. Now, let's peel back another layer. We've touched on the hidden tension between desire and escape, that constant, silent tug of war. But what if the very things you believe make you desirable, make you strong, are actually the most profound expressions of your hidden need to escape something within yourself? Most men spend their lives cultivating an image, the provider, the protector, the stoic, the successful. These roles are powerful, commanding respect and often attracting admiration. Yet, for many, these carefully constructed identities aren't just about strength. They're also elaborate defense mechanisms. Consider the man who relentlessly pursues success, accumulating wealth, status, and external validation. He might genuinely believe he's driven by ambition, by a desire to provide, or to leave a legacy, and perhaps he is, in part. But often, beneath that fierce drive lies a deeper, unacknowledged need, the escape from feeling inadequate, from past failures, from a profound sense of not being enough without these external markers of worth. His relentless pursuit of more isn't just about desire for achievement. It's a frantic flight from a shadow of self-doubt. The higher he climbs, the further he gets from the uncomfortable truth of his inner insecurity. He becomes a prisoner of his own success, constantly needing to achieve more to keep that shadow at bay. This is the forbidden curiosity that gnaws at the edges of his consciousness. What would happen if he stopped? What part of himself would he then have to confront? They never told you that your greatest strengths, your discipline, your resilience, your ability to provide, can be the hidden chains binding you to this exhausting cycle. You wear them like badges of honor, but they can become the very tools that prevent genuine connection. Because if your worth is entirely tied to what you do, rather than who you are, then intimacy becomes a threat. It exposes the man beneath the armor, the one who isn't always strong, always composed, always in control, and that exposure, that vulnerability, is precisely what the escape mechanism is designed to prevent. The fear isn't of being rejected, it's of being seen, truly seen, and finding that the internal void still remains, despite all external accomplishments. Imagine a flicker of light in a dark room, just enough to catch a glimpse of something unsettling. That's the feeling when a man briefly considers the possibility that his entire life's trajectory has been dictated not by conscious ambition, but by an unacknowledged fear. He might experience a sudden, chilling insight during a quiet moment of reflection, perhaps after achieving a major goal, only to find an emptiness still lingering. That sudden silence, that lack of the usual drive, allows the shadow to whisper, "What are you truly running from?" The symbolic motif here is the locked door, the part of himself he has kept hidden, not from others, but from himself, believing it to be a weakness, when in fact, it holds the key to a deeper understanding of his own motivations. This hidden desire to escape, paradoxically, often leads men into situations they intellectually desire, but emotionally sabotage. You desire a loving, stable relationship, but find yourself pulling away just as it deepens. You crave true companionship, but constantly find flaws or create distance. It's not a conscious malice, but the insidious influence of that unacknowledged drive to protect a fragile internal landscape. What feels like freedom from commitment, from emotional demands, is actually a meticulous illusion designed to keep you chasing shadows, forever seeking more, because the true more, the confrontation with self, is too terrifying to face. This leads to a profound sense of confusion, then fascination, as the pieces begin to click into place. But the real game only begins when you understand who the puppet master truly is. The puppet master isn't some external force. It's a shadow you've kept locked away, a part of you that craves and recoils in equal measure. And the first crack in your illusion of control happens when that shadow briefly takes the stage. You've built a life on logic, on the rock-solid belief that your emotions are a choice, a lever you can pull or ignore at will. You've convinced yourself you can walk away from anything, from anyone, without a second thought. You are the master of your own composure. Then, one quiet evening, the facade begins to crumble. It's a subtle thing, not a dramatic explosion. Maybe you're with her, and a seemingly innocuous name flashes across her phone screen. An old friend, a new colleague, it doesn't matter. What matters is the jolt, a sudden, visceral tightness in your chest. A flicker of heat behind your eyes, a primal surge of jealousy, or anger, or fear, an emotion you've told yourself you were above. Your hands clench without you telling them to, your jaw tightens. In that instant, the calm, logical man you thought you were disappears, replaced by something reactive, something ancient. You watch yourself, almost as a spectator, as this emotion dictates your next move. The voice in your head, the one you always listen to, is silent. This isn't about the message. This is about the first moment you realize you don't own the controls. It is the first crack of control. The composure you project, the stability you pride yourself on, is just a thin veneer. Beneath it, the raw, unconscious battle between your desire for this person and your deep-seated need to escape the threat of losing her is playing out on its own terms. The mind races, trying to rationalize it, to put the genie back in the bottle. You tell yourself, it's just a momentary lapse. You try to dismiss the feeling, to regain your composure, but the spell is broken. You've seen the strings, you've seen the puppet master's hand. It's like looking at your reflection, and in the pristine, polished glass, you see a sudden, hairline fracture spread across the surface. The image of the man you know is still there, but it's no longer whole. You can't unsee the crack. You can't pretend the surface is unbroken. That sense of betrayal, of being a spectator to your own life, is a profound and deeply unsettling truth. The aftermath is a cold, quiet dread. A moment of unease where you question if you're truly the one making your decisions, or if you're merely reacting to a hidden, internal script you never wrote. This isn't liberation. This is a profound and terrifying loss of certainty. But what you did next reveals the true depth of the shame you carry. What did you do after that moment, after the facade cracked, and you saw the raw, unpredictable impulse surge through you? Most men, in that immediate aftermath, instinctively recoil, not just from the situation, but from the raw, unadorned reflection of themselves. This isn't guilt. Guilt is about an action. Shame is about who you are. It's the chilling realization that the part of you they told you to kill, the impulsive, primal, unacceptable self, never left. It just learned to hide better. Perhaps you snapped at her, saying something you immediately regretted, the words tasting like ash in your mouth. Or maybe you withdrew completely, pulling back into a cold silence, punishing her, or more accurately, punishing yourself for what you felt. You might have tried to rationalize it away, to dismiss it as a bad mood or overthinking. But the memory of that uncontrolled surge, that moment of raw, unedited reaction, burns in your mind. It's the shame of not being the stoic, self-possessed man you've meticulously constructed. The man who is always in control, always rational, always above such base emotions. This shame is a corrosive acid, eating away at your self-perception. What feels like freedom, that ability to detach, to remain unbothered, to always be the cool one, is actually a profound deception. It's designed to keep you chasing shadows, forever seeking validation or distance, precisely so you don't have to confront the messy, unbridled impulses within. This shame, this deep aversion to appearing weak or out of control, drives you into further layers of self-deception. You double down on the illusion, building even thicker walls around that vulnerable, reactive core, hoping to bury it so deep that no one, especially not you, can ever see it again. The comfort you cling to is simply the absence of this searing self-reproach. You stand before the mirror later that night, perhaps. Not just the physical one, but the internal mirror of your own mind, and you see it. Not just the momentary flash of anger, but the shame etched in your own eyes. A cold sweat might prickle your skin as your heart races, thumping against your ribs like a caged bird. The whispered words of self-condemnation echo in the quiet room. You shouldn't have reacted that way. You lost control. You are not who you pretend to be. That inner monologue is relentless, punishing. It's the voice of every societal expectation, every suppressed vulnerability, screaming at you from the depths of your own psyche. Confusion morphs into a creeping dread. This isn't just about a mistake, it's about a fundamental flaw, a primal vulnerability you desperately tried to bury. The unsettling truth is, the more you try to suppress these raw desires or fears, the more power they gain, festering in the dark corners of your mind. They become a poison, subtle, insidious, working from within, undermining every conscious choice. This realization settles over you like a suffocating blanket, revealing a profound sense of powerlessness, a chilling acknowledgement that you are not, and perhaps never were, truly in command. And from this wound, this unacknowledged shame, something even more insidious emerges, the way your own desire begins to manipulate your every choice. You've felt the sting of that shame, haven't you? The chilling realization that your control is an illusion. But from that wound, something far more insidious emerges, the way your own desire begins to manipulate your every choice. It's not the simple, clear desire you admit to yourself, the straightforward want for a partner or a goal. It's the subterranean current, the one that's been shaped by that very shame, by that deep-seated fear of inadequacy or vulnerability. This hidden desire doesn't just want things, it engineers situations, it whispers justifications, it twists your perception until the choices it wants you to make feel like your own, like they're rational, even virtuous. Consider a man, driven by a deep, unacknowledged desire for unwavering admiration and absolute control. Perhaps he felt overlooked or powerless in his youth. Now, he's inexplicably drawn to partners who are highly expressive, outwardly dependent, or constantly seeking his approval. He tells himself he loves their passion or their need for stability, believing he's choosing freely. But the truth is, this isn't pure love, it's his hidden desire for absolute validation subtly manipulating his choices. He's not choosing a partner, he's choosing a mirror that reflects only his desired image, a canvas on which he can paint his perceived dominance. Every act of kindness or support becomes a subtle reinforcement of his own power, a way to keep the shame of his past powerlessness at bay. He convinces himself he is giving, but in truth, he is taking exactly what his ego craves. They never told you the freedom you crave, the freedom to choose who you want, when you want, without strings, is a masterful illusion. You believe you're exercising free will, charting your own course, but you're often dancing to the tune of an unacknowledged longing. This isn't freedom, it's a meticulously constructed stage where your hidden desires play out their drama, convincing you that you are the playwright. The decisions you make, the paths you take, the people you pursue or push away, they're often less about conscious preference and more about a subconscious effort to fill a void, to assert control over a world that once felt chaotic, or to desperately avoid discomfort. The forbidden flame of unacknowledged desire burns deep within, casting long, distorting shadows over your perceptions, blinding you to its true influence. You feel the subtle pull, don't you? That insistent nudge towards a certain action, a certain person, even when a calmer, more rational part of your mind urges caution. Your heartbeat might quicken not just from excitement, but from the quiet, uneasy thrill of stepping onto a path that feels predestined. Even if you can't articulate why, this isn't about simple attraction, it's a magnetic force, a silent coercion. The initial fascination you felt morphs into a profound sense of internal dread, a dark realization that you are not the sole author of your own story. The uncomfortable truth is, your own desires, born from unacknowledged shame, have become your most persuasive manipulators, agents of your own unwitting deception. But what happens when the very path you choose to escape leads you right back into its clutches? You thought you were breaking free, didn't you? After all that manipulation by desire, you believed your latest move was an act of rebellion, an escape. But what happens when the very path you choose to escape leads you right back into its clutches? This is the dark realization, the chilling insight that shatters the last remnants of your perceived autonomy. It's the moment you understand that your attempts to escape are not external acts of defiance, but internal loops, perfectly orchestrated by the very forces you think you're fleeing. The path to freedom becomes just another corridor in your silent prison. Consider a man who consistently finds himself in relationships where he feels smothered or perpetually overlooked, his voice unheard. He vows to never again fall into such a trap. He breaks off connections, seeking space, independence, or someone different. He sees these acts as powerful assertions of his will, his escape from a confining pattern. He feels the rush of liberation, the quiet satisfaction of having finally learned his lesson. But then, a few months, a year, a decade later, he finds himself drawn to a new person who, despite superficial differences, subtly triggers the exact same feelings of entrapment or the exact same need for his validation. He's in a new setting, with a new face, but the underlying dynamic, the one that makes him yearn to escape, is hauntingly familiar. Most men don't realize the comfort they cling to, the comfort of predictable patterns, even painful ones, or the comfort of a seemingly safe distance, is actually a silent prison. It's the illusion of forward movement when you're actually running on a psychological treadmill. The escape becomes part of the trap itself, a self-perpetuating cycle where your desired freedom is always just out of reach, always leading you back to the very emotional landscape you sought to abandon. This isn't a coincidence. This is the masterful design of your subconscious, ensuring you never truly confront the core wound that drives the entire cycle of desire and flight. You are trapped not by external forces, but by the very architecture of your unexamined self. You feel the tightening knot in your stomach, don't you? That unsettling sense of déjà vu, the chilling realization that you've been here before, perhaps many times. It's like being caught in an endless labyrinth. Every turn you make, every door you choose, eventually brings you back to the same familiar despair or the same unspoken desire. The walls close in, not physically, but psychologically. You see the pattern now, the repetition, the futility of your struggles. Your heartbeat slows not from calm, but from a profound sense of resignation as the gravity of this dark truth presses down on you. The air grows heavier. Dread deepens into a profound, unsettling acceptance. You are not just caught in a loop, you are part of the mechanism of the loop. This quiet, terrifying revelation forces you to confront the uncomfortable fact that your greatest efforts at self-liberation have been, all along, meticulously crafted parts of your own silent imprisonment. The very act of escaping reaffirms the power of what you escape from. You've been playing a game, but you were never truly outside of it. You were always within the rules you unknowingly created for yourself. And the most unsettling truth is that this self-deception comes with a profound cost, one you've already been paying. Toi laam letter 1, ed 90 mo hin ungan ng letter 1 ef, nairn kong ko kh letter 1 a3 nang jip b letter 1 a1 nvi letter 1 ec7 c do. You've finally stopped running. You've accepted the uncomfortable truth of the labyrinth, the self-made prison. But what happens now? What happens when you finally stop running and negotiate with the shadow that has been controlling you all along? This isn't about fighting it or eradicating it. That was the old, futile battle. This is about understanding it. The shadow is not inherently evil, it is merely unacknowledged. It holds your deepest, most primal desires and your most profound, unspoken fears. It's been dictating your choices because, in its own primitive way, it believed it was protecting you or fulfilling needs you denied. To negotiate is to listen, to inquire, to bring light to what has lived in darkness. It's a dark bargain, but one that offers the first true sense of control you've ever known. Imagine the next time that familiar surge of jealousy, that urge to withdraw, or that compulsive need to dominate arises. Instead of reacting, you pause, you feel the raw emotion, but you don't act on it immediately. You whisper, "What do you need? What are you afraid of?" You observe it, as if it were a separate entity, a part of you demanding attention. You might trace it back to a childhood wound of feeling powerless, or an early rejection that taught you to escape before you could be hurt. You begin to differentiate the primal desire for connection from the learned fear of vulnerability that twists it. This isn't easy. It requires immense courage to face the ugliness you've hidden. But this calm, steady inquiry starts to dissolve its raw power over you. What feels like freedom, the ability to act impulsively, to always pursue immediate gratification, to never be tied down, is actually a silent master, designed to keep you trapped in a loop of unexamined reactions. This negotiation breaks that loop. You realize that true freedom isn't about escaping connection. It's about choosing it consciously, understanding the strings that could pull you, but choosing to hold them yourself. You begin to understand the true nature of the game you didn't know you were playing. The locked door within you, the one guarding those primal impulses, is slowly, painstakingly beginning to creak open. You're no longer blindly pushed. You're starting to see the mechanisms, the inner workings of your own psyche. There's a quiet hum in the space where panic used to be, a deep resonance as you listen to the echoes of your own history. The cold presence of the shadow doesn't vanish, but it feels less menacing, less alien, as you acknowledge its existence. It's like stepping into a dimly lit chamber, not knowing exactly what you'll find, but knowing you must enter to find your way out. Your breath deepens, your pulse steadies. The raw, unsettling emotions are still there, but they no longer control you. You are observing them, not embodying them. This is the first step towards quiet clarity. Dread gives way to a cautious sense of power. This isn't power over others, but power over yourself. It's the profound realization that you are not condemned to repeat the same cycles. This negotiation, this act of mindful confrontation, begins to reshape the landscape of your inner world. You are no longer merely a reactor. You are becoming an architect of your internal responses. A quiet sense of clarity starts to dawn, fragile but profound. But with this newfound clarity comes a different kind of liberation, one found only in embracing the very darkness you once fled. You've peered into the shadow, negotiated its terms, and felt the first glimmer of quiet clarity. But with this newfound clarity comes a different kind of liberation, one found only in embracing the very darkness you once fled. This is the quiet moment of liberation. It's not a shout of defiance or a grand escape. It's a deep breath, a settling of the soul. As the internal war finally ceases, you realize that true freedom isn't the absence of desire or fear, but the ability to observe them without being owned by them. It's the profound peace that comes from understanding your own complex inner landscape, from integrating the shadow rather than battling it. Imagine facing a scenario that, just weeks or months ago, would have sent you spiraling into old patterns. Perhaps a partner expresses a need for space, triggering your deepest fears of abandonment or your urge to control. The old impulse to withdraw completely or to smother with excessive attention flickers, but this time something is different. You feel the familiar pull, yes, but you also see it. You acknowledge the fear, you acknowledge the desire for connection, but you don't become them. You can choose to communicate, truly listen, and respond from a place of conscious awareness rather than unconscious reaction. There's a profound lightness, a genuine choice where there once was only automatic programming. You are no longer running from anything, you are simply being. They never told you the very comfort you seek, the comfort of predictable avoidance, of emotional detachment, of being alone but free, is a subtle cage. That comfort was an illusion, a safe prison built from fear and unacknowledged shame. This liberation, however quiet, is real. It is the freedom to genuinely connect, to truly be present, because you are no longer terrified of what might be stirred within you. The flickering flame of your awareness, once scattered by chaotic winds of unexamined impulse, now burns steady and controlled, illuminating the previously dark corners of your own desires and fears. You can see their contours, their origins, and their potential rather than being consumed by them. There's a deep, satisfying breath you take, one that settles all the scattered pieces of your mind. Your heartbeat, once erratic under stress, now maintains a calm, steady rhythm. The internal noise, the constant whispering of anxieties and demands, finally settles into a quiet hum of existence. You feel a profound lightness in your chest, a sense of open space where there was once a tightening knot. This isn't euphoria, but a quiet, enduring peace, an acceptance of what is, both within and without. The quiet clarity you gained from negotiating with the shadow deepens into a true sense of peace. Not the absence of challenges, but the presence of an inner stillness that allows you to navigate them with integrity. You are no longer fighting yourself, you are whole, in a way you never thought possible. This is the calm before the acquisition of a deeper, more profound understanding. But this isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a profound, dark wisdom that most men will never possess. You've tasted true inner peace, a calm forged in the fires of self-confrontation. But this isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a profound, dark wisdom that most men will never possess. This wisdom isn't about manipulation, it's about seeing. It's about understanding the unseen currents of desire and the subtle architecture of escape that dictate human behavior, not just in others, but within yourself. It's the ability to perceive the true stakes, the hidden motives, and the unspoken contracts in every interaction. You learn to recognize the universal game of power and vulnerability, lust and fear, playing out in plain sight, yet invisible to the uninitiated. Now, when you observe relationships around you, the charades become painfully clear. You see the man who seeks control to mask his deep-seated fear of abandonment. You see the woman who offers unwavering devotion, but subtly demands absolute possession, escaping her own insecurity. You understand their dances, their silent bids for dominance or safety. Most men only see the surface, the arguments, the affections, the daily routines. But you see the unveiled puppet strings, the underlying desires and fears pulling every decision, every word. This isn't cynical, it's simply true. You are no longer swayed by superficial displays because you understand the engine beneath. This newfound perception offers a chilling clarity, a quiet hum of understanding that resonates deep within your bones. Most men don't realize the pursuit of power, of external validation, of seeming free, is actually a deeply unsettling truth keeping them blind. They chase shadows, believing these external gains will fill an internal void, unaware that the game itself is rigged by their own unexamined impulses. But you see the chessboard for what it is, not just the pieces moving, but the invisible hand guiding them. You understand the profound cost of that blindness, the years spent chasing illusions, all while the real game passed them by. The world appears in sharper, truer focus now. Conversations hold multiple layers. Every gesture, every glance, every silence carries weight. There's a quiet dread in this new perception, a cold recognition that once seen, it cannot be unseen. But this dread is tempered by a calm, unsettling acceptance. You are no longer fooled, no longer a pawn in a game you didn't comprehend. You hold the rules, and with that comes agency. Tonight, when you face your reflection, you'll see the part of you they told you to kill, but it never left. It was merely waiting, observing, growing stronger in the shadows you cast. It was the unacknowledged desire, the primal fear, the raw, untamed instinct they deemed unacceptable, but you now understand its language, its needs, its profound power. You've brought it into the light, not to destroy it, but to integrate it, to harness its ancient energy. The battle is over, not because you won against yourself, but because you finally understood that the self is whole, a tapestry woven from both light and shadow, desire and escape. There is no victory in denying your own nature, only a quiet, ceaseless war. The true triumph lies in acceptance, in the profound, unsettling clarity that comes from embracing every facet of who you are. This wisdom is a heavy cloak, but it is one woven from truth, and it offers a warmth that no illusion ever could. You are no longer chasing shadows, you are standing in the sun, fully seen, fully felt, even the parts that once whispered in the dark. We've journeyed deep tonight, haven't we, into the hidden currents of your own mind, uncovering the silent battles between desire and escape that shape your relationships, your ambitions, your very sense of self. You've seen how the illusions of freedom, of control, of unburdened choice were meticulously crafted by your own unacknowledged fears and hungers. You've felt the unsettling crack of that facade, witnessed the shame of reactions you thought you'd mastered, and understood how those very desires then manipulated your path into an endless, self-made labyrinth. But you've also learned to stop running. You've begun the difficult, yet profoundly liberating, work of negotiating with your own shadow, transforming a silent master into an understood ally. This isn't just theory. This is the operating system of human connection, revealed. You now possess a dark wisdom most men will live and die without ever glimpsing. You can see the true motives beneath the surface, not just in others, but in the subtle pushes and pulls within your own heart. This understanding doesn't make you cynical, it makes you real. It allows you to step into your life with eyes wide open, to make choices not out of blind reaction or unconscious manipulation, but from a place of clear, unsettling truth. It's the difference between being a pawn and knowing the moves on the board. The true work begins now. The real power is in applying this wisdom, in observing yourself with unwavering honesty. Pay attention to that subtle urge to pull back when intimacy deepens. Notice the frantic pursuit when validation feels scarce. Recognize the old patterns trying to resurface. This understanding is your key. It's the only way to genuinely choose your path, to forge relationships rooted in truth, not in the shadows of hidden desires and desperate escapes. If this journey resonated with the unspoken truths you've felt, if it pulled back a curtain on something you instinctively knew but couldn't name, then this is your moment. Like this video to acknowledge the uncomfortable truth. Subscribe to ATAP for more forbidden wisdom that conventional thinking won't dare touch, and in the comments below, share one pattern, one hidden desire or escape mechanism you've recognized within yourself tonight. Let's build a space where these unspoken realities can finally be seen. Your silence has been broken. Now, begin to truly live with eyes wide open.